spring break is supposed to be the one week where nothing matters. No classes, no responsibilities, just you and your friends doing something stupid somewhere warm. But sometimes the trip goes wrong in a way nobody sees coming, and you spend the rest of your life wondering what would have happened if you'd stayed one more night. Story 1. This was my sophomore year. My roommate Devon and I drove down to South Padre with 2 other guys from our floor, Marcus and Ty. We didn't have a hotel booked because Devon swore he knew someone with a beach house we could crash at for free. That fell through about 3 hours into the drive when the person stopped answering Devon's texts, which was exactly as predictable as it sounds. So we ended up at this motel about 10 minutes from the strip. It was cheap and it looked cheap, but we weren't planning on spending much time in the room anyway. The first 2 nights were great, normal spring break stuff. On the 3rd night, Devon and I ended up at this outdoor bar on the beach, where a group of local guys invited us to their table. They were friendly, buying rounds, asking about school. One of them, this older guy, maybe early 30s, kept asking what we were doing for the rest of the night. He said he knew about an after-party at a villa up the coast that was going to be way better than anything on the strip. Devon was all in. I was hesitant, but the guy was convincing, and 2 girls at the table said they were going too. We got into the back of an SUV with the older guy driving and his friend in the passenger seat. Everything felt normal for the first 5 minutes. Then the road turned inland, away from the coast. I asked where we were going, and the driver said it was a shortcut. Devon didn't seem to notice, but I was watching every turn. About 15 minutes in, we pulled off onto a dirt road with no lights and no other cars. That's when one of the girls leaned over to me and whispered that this wasn't the way to any villa. The look on her face told me she wasn't part of whatever this was either. I tapped Devon's leg twice, which was something we'd done since freshman year when one of us needed the other to pay attention without being obvious. He looked at me, and I could see it click. The car slowed down near what looked like a gate. The driver started to pull over. Devon said, loud and clear, that he needed to throw up. He sold it well because he'd been drinking all night. The driver stopped, and Devon opened the door. I followed immediately. The second my feet hit the ground, I grabbed his arm and we ran. Just sprinted back down the dirt road toward the main road. I heard shouting behind us, but nobody chased on foot. We ran until we hit pavement and kept going until we found a petrol station and called Marcus to come get us. I still think about those 2 girls. Story 2. I was 21, and my girlfriend at the time, Mia, convinced me to go to Cancun with her sorority group. There were about 15 of us in total, split across 3 hotel rooms. The trip was fine for the most part. Loud, messy, the usual. On the 4th night, Mia and I went to dinner alone at a restaurant a few blocks from the hotel. About halfway through the meal, a guy sat down at the table next to us by himself. He was American, late 20s, and he just started talking to us like we'd invited him, asking where we were staying, telling us about his trip, commenting on the food. Mia was polite because that's how she is, but I wasn't engaging. Something about him felt off. We finished and left. Walking back, I noticed him about a block behind us. Same direction, same pace. We got to the hotel and I forgot about it. The next morning, Maya and a few of the other girls went to a market in town to buy souvenirs. I stayed at the pool. When they came back about 2 hours later, Mia was visibly shaken. She told me the guy from the restaurant had been at the market. He'd walked up to her and said something along the lines of, "Your boyfriend isn't here this time." Then he told her she should come with him to see something nearby, that it would only take a minute. One of the other girls stepped in and told him to back off, and he left without arguing. But the fact that he'd found her in a completely different part of town, without me, and made a point of acknowledging that I wasn't there, made the whole thing feel very targeted. We told hotel staff, and they said they'd keep an eye out. For the rest of the trip, we didn't go anywhere in groups smaller than 5. On the last night, I saw him from our balcony, standing across the street looking up at the building. He stood there long enough that it wasn't casual. We flew home the next day. I've always wondered how many other couples he'd done that to, and how many didn't have friends close enough to step in. Story 3. Junior year, a bunch of us rented an Airbnb on a lake about 4 hours from campus. There were 8 of us, and the house was big enough that everyone had their own space. The listing looked perfect, and the reviews were all 5 stars. When we got there, the place matched the photos, which was a relief. The only weird thing was a door on the ground floor at the end of a hallway that was locked from the outside with a padlock. We assumed it was the owner's storage or a utility room and didn't think about it. The first couple of days were great. We grilled out, swam in the lake, and played cards on the deck. At night, the house got really quiet because we were far from the nearest neighbor. I remember lying in bed the second night, thinking I could hear something faint through the wall, like a low hum or a fan. I figured it was the water heater and didn't give it another thought. On the third night, one of my friends went to grab something from his car around 2 in the morning and came back looking pale. He said the padlocked door was open, not just unlocked, wide open, like someone had come out and left without closing it behind them. A few of us went to look, and the room behind the door had a mattress on the floor, a small table with a lamp on it, and a window that had been completely blacked out with paint. There were empty water bottles lined up against the wall and food wrappers in the corner. Someone had been staying in that room the entire time we were in the house. We packed our bags and left within the hour. We reported it to Airbnb, and the listing was taken down a few days later. The host never responded to any of our messages. I don't know who was in that room or how long they'd been there, but I know they were listening to us through that wall every single night. Would any of these situations make your stomach turn? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there.